Jim and Joy, are you telling secrets now?
Oh, hello there, everybody. Thank you very much.
Mouths are moving, but no noise.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. I forgot I had
I was
the,
wondering what happened.
yes.
Thank you,
Uh,
Mary.
it was like a new way of teaching NVC completely non-verbally.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you're not reading lips these days?
Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the Open Hearted Practice Group. It's Monday, December the 12th or Tuesday, December the 13th, 2022. And the topic today is called Expressing Regret. It's kind of a follow through for what we did last week. And but you don't have to have been here last week to benefit from the class, because it's each of our classes stands alone from all the other classes. We're really glad that you're here.
And if you're where you are, it's December 13th. You are celebrating my birthday today. Thank you.
Happy birthday in advance.
In advance. But I mean, some of you are already in the 13th, December 13th. So I wanted to give you every opportunity to celebrate.
Not allowing us.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yes,
Happy
Beth?
birthday, Jory.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Monica.
Happy
And
birthday.
not yet, not yet. Not yet,
Happy
unless you're
birthday tomorrow.
in Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 13 for us. 13 morning.
Yeah. So let's see here. There might be some new people here today. So let me just explain a little bit about what we do here. It's a practice group, and we practice nonviolent communication, which is a process developed by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. And the way we practice is three different ways, and you'll get a chance to practice all three ways today if things go according to plan and our electricity holds up. So we'll practice in just a minute. We'll do a self-connection exercise or a self-compassion exercise, a chance to utilize nonviolent communication just with yourself. And it'll be a setup for the practice that we'll do later, which will also include the chance to practice empathy, which is the listening part of nonviolent communication, and honesty, which is the speaking part of nonviolent communication. And we do those practices primarily in small groups with usually three people in the small group, sometimes four, sometimes two, just depends on how the groups, how many people show up and when, and what the requests are, and so forth. And you might notice that some people have put an equal sign in front of their name. That means that for whatever reason, they're choosing not to be in a small group. And we honor that choice. And we'll put you into a small group anyway, but there's no expectation that you do anything in that small group. It's just a small group of people that are not wanting to participate in a small group. We need to put you somewhere. So that's what we do. And let's see here. Yeah, I think that's everything I want to say right now. So let's go ahead and start practicing. To do this practice, all you need to do is be a human being. I'm not going to try to lead you anywhere other than into your own direct experience. And so you could just start by looking around the space that you're in, getting yourself grounded, practicing some presence. You can just let your eyes go wherever they want to go. And if you want to close your eyes, you can. Sometimes it helps me to do these exercises when I close my eyes. Just notice how you feel.
Okay.
Just notice your body, notice the sensations in your body, right here and right now. And last week we worked on how we respond when we make a mistake, when we behave in a way that doesn't contribute to the well-being of somebody else that we care about. And so we'll kind of pick up the practice there. And so just invite you to remember a small mistake that you made involving somebody else that you care about. Maybe you interrupted them while they were talking, or you stepped on their toe, or you told them you would do something and you forgot to do it. Something kind of small scale mistake that you made. So just think about that for a minute and see if you can come up with a specific memory of a time when you behaved in a way that you wished you wouldn't have.
And would you look at this? Are they all Japanese?
Mm-mm.
I don't think there are any Japanese, so yeah.
And so think about what need of yours you were trying to meet when you behaved in the way that you did. So for example, if I started talking before Jory was finished with a sentence, the need that perhaps I was trying to meet when I did that had been self-expression. So think about what, and just make a guess. You don't have to guess right. Make a guess about what need you were hoping to meet when you behaved in a way that you wished that you hadn't behaved. What was your positive intention in doing what you were doing? Just kind of put that to the side for a moment, that need or needs. If you came up with more than one, that's also fine. And then, so that's that one we're going to call the positive intention. And then there's a reason that you're feeling regret about doing what you did. And the reason you feel that regret is because there was a need of yours that was not satisfied when you did what you did. So in my case, when I started speaking before Jory was finished speaking, I feel regret because I didn't meet my need for empathy and respect. So what was it about for you? What need is causing you to feel regret? So if you're coming in the middle of this exercise, it's okay, because I'm going to give you a way that you can continue to practice even if you're just now arriving, so don't worry about it. But everybody's got two needs now. And so I'll give everybody who doesn't yet have two needs, I'll just give you two that, or a way to get to two needs. Sometimes we think that needs are in conflict. So maybe, for example, there's a need for play and a need for rest. It seems like those two needs are in conflict. So you can think of any other polarity, so to speak, of needs, and you can use those to do this exercise as well. So in my case, I'm using the need for respect on the one hand and self-expression on the other hand. And I'm using that phrase on purpose because I want you to imagine that you could start with that first need, the need of yours you were hoping to meet when you did whatever you did, and put that in your right hand. Imagine that you could put that need in your right hand. So you turn that need into like an imaginary object that you could hold in your right hand. And now you can sort of design that object or that need to be any way you like. There's a chance to be creative. So you can give it a color. You could give it a shape. You could give it some sense of weight or lightness. You could make it sparkle if you wanted to. You could decorate it any way you want this need. It's kind of like an ornament that you might put on a Christmas tree if you celebrate Christmas. Maybe there's even a sound associated with it or an aroma. You give it something that gives it some life, some sort of creative expression. That's all in your right hand with that first need. And then just admire it, just be with it, just enjoy its presence in your right hand. You can feel the weight of it, enjoy the beauty of it, enjoy the energy of it. And then in your left hand, put the need that was not satisfied when you behaved in the way that you did. So in my case here, I'm putting respect. I'll just call it respect. And you follow the same process. You give it a color, a shape, texture, some weight to it. Again, maybe there's a sound or an aroma. Anything else you want to do to decorate that need? And so now you've got two needs. And they seem to be separate from one another. And we're just going to try a little experiment and see what happens for you. Everybody will have their own different experience. And there's no right answer or wrong answer or anything like that. It's just to see what happens. So you reconnect with the need in your right hand for a moment. The need that represents your positive intention. And then remember the need in your left hand, the need that represents your regret. And slowly, or at your own pace, just bring your two hands together. And imagine that these two objects somehow can merge. They can become a mixture of energies. And you can kind of swirl them together, like you're blending these two needs. Just notice what that's like. Something new is created when you bring these two needs together. And you see that they're not really in conflict. They're just different energies that are mixing now in a new way. And then you can enhance the experience even more by slowly bringing these needs to your heart, your physical heart, which is where they reside. And as you integrate fully with these needs, you might have a new idea pop up maybe not, but maybe you have a new idea pop up about how you might be able to meet both needs with less cost from now on. So again, my needs were like for respect on the one hand and self-expression. So as I consider, how could I have met both of my needs in that moment in a way that would be more life-serving? Just wait for an answer and see if one comes. If one comes now, great. If one doesn't come yet, that's also fine. And what I get when I do it is I have the experience of, I hear a little voice in my head that says, patience, practice patience, practice breathing. So I realized I could just create a little bit of space, allow Jory to finish whatever it is that she wants to say, and then I'll have a chance to express. And so then just again, let it go. Notice how your body feels as you just let the exercise go. Maybe it was something wonderful for you. Maybe it didn't work for you. Whatever your experience is, just be with the feelings that you have right now. And consider if any needs of yours were satisfied by doing the exercise. And make equal space for any needs of yours that were not satisfied by doing the exercise. And Jory's been making small groups for you. So now you get a chance to go practice honesty and empathy with each other. Honesty being your opportunity to just express what your experience was like of this exercise, whether you liked it or whether you didn't like it, got something out of it. Maybe you have some advice that you wish you could give me. Anything like that might be your honesty. And the other two people in your group are just practicing empathy, just listening with an open heart to what your experience was. And you'll have about 2 or 3 minutes to express. Keep track of your own time. And then when you're done, it'll be somebody else's turn. And that person will express what their experience was like. So it might sound something like this, just to give you an example. So I go to my partner, of course it's in Zoom for most of you, and I say, hey, Jory, my experience, what was my experience like? It was a little bit, I was a little distracted because I was doing multi things. I heard you over here clicking, but there was also something really delightful in the surprise of putting these two needs together, and how quickly my brain came up with like another way that I could be in those moments when there's really something that I want to say, but you're not quite done talking. And I could really appreciate the opportunity to think about developing more patience in a moment like that, because I really want you to have the space to be able to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened for me.
Yeah. Anything you want back from me?
Well, sure. Just since we're here, how is it for you to hear that?
I appreciate when you tell me what's happening for you and how things land. So thank you.
Yeah. And then if Jory had been doing the exercise, she was doing her own exercise called making small groups.
Right.
She would share her experience, then the third person in our group would do it. So that's what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes. You'll see a timer in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and it'll count down from 9 minutes. And when the timer is done, it'll automatically kick over, and you'll have 1 minute to finish. And when it's finally finished, you'll come back to the main room here, and you won't have to do anything. And so you can just relax, enjoy getting a chance to meet some new people. And Jory's going to push the button that says open all
Yes.
rooms now, and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
See you in a bit. You want to put, I need to put some people in there that. All right, coming back. Would you mute this one up here, please?
All right.
I'll mute the rest.
So I'm so curious about my little self-connection experiment to get some feedback from you. I usually do that at the end of a training rather than at the beginning of one. And so I would just like to find out, hear from a couple of people what your experience was like. We'll start. I see Monica has raised her hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, you can do that by looking at the bottom of your screen. There's a little happy face that says reactions with a little arrow next to it, reactions, happy face. And if you click on that, then it opens up a little menu and one of them says raise hand. So first Monica and then Joseph.
It was just good that you kind of reminded me, I like the part about holding, the met needs in the right hand, or I forget which is right or left, but in one hand and the unmet needs in the other hand, and, just looking at them both, with compassion and knowing that you could meet both needs and trying to find a strategy. So I had forgotten about that. So thank you for reminding me, and I'm complete. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And Joseph?
Yes, Joseph. Well, I came in late, and I came in hearing put one in one hand, one in the other hand. I guess the unmet needs. So I wasn't sure of that. And then there was 4 of us in our breakout room, and I knew the most. Well, no, I can't say that. I don't think any of us really knew what was going on with it. So I didn't have the best experience with it.
Yeah.
And when I say I knew about the 2 hands, but I didn't express anything clearly. Thank you.
Well,
So I'm gonna keep listening.
yeah, no worries. Thanks for the feedback, Joseph.
Yeah.
And Joya.
Thanks, Jim. So I was with Joseph and we came in late. All 4 of us knew nothing what was happening. I just saw the demo and I was just wondering what to do. And so for us, it was very confusing. So we were a little stuck, all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds like it was confusing, and yet you found a way to utilize that moment just to connect with each other. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, I spent most of my life in some form of confusion. So, yeah. And I want to hear from you, Joya, that you're proud of me for remembering the Bengali pronunciation of your name.
I'm loving it. I'm just loving it. Nobody calls me that. So.
She taught me how to say her name at a recent meeting. And see, we have a daughter named Jaya. It's spelled the same way. And so I've always been calling Joya Jaya. And I finally decided I should probably ask, because I know there's lots of different ways you can say things. And I really appreciated the compassionate way that you responded, Joya, and that you shared that you're really open to however it comes, and you really also appreciated that I asked, and I really appreciate knowing the distinction between the Bengali pronunciation, and I guess I might even be butchering the Sanskrit pronunciation or the Hindi pronunciation, but that's what we call our kid, is Jaya.
And I'm blown away because I've known you for so long, and this is the first I'm learning that you pronounce your name differently. Oh, and there's
Heather. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say that I had a moment of regret right before coming into this session that was really had really had me in disarray in my body, really holding on to that because it was so fresh. And so doing this activity really brought some calm. And then the sort of the icing on top was the partner in our threesome echoing back the resonance, the warm resonance, and the empathy. Really, just like I got some ease when I did it on my own. I got a little deeper with that ease when I shared, and then it went even deeper when it echoed back, and it was just really beautiful.
Oh, how wonderful!
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, Heather. I'm so glad you had a fresh experience to work with. And is it Abby? Go ahead.
Hi. Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I raised my I'm in India. And yeah, I need to bring my voice so I feel fully present also. That's one of my needs. Yeah, I was holding space in one hand and it had like a very visceral white like cotton sort of quality, and the other one was connection, which was like heavy silk almost, like yellow. And then I was merging them and it just turned into some beautiful texture, like Play-Doh, but silky and metallic. And I just love that. I just wanted to share that. And then also the need that came with that merging was self-connection.
Yeah.
Space and connection with others, but together it was self-connection.
Nice.
And I'm celebrating that I came for this session because I'm already meeting that need.
Oh, that's really cool. Thank you. And thanks for sharing your creative process with us.
Yeah, welcome.
Lovely. Roya?
Yes, hi, thanks. I was wondering if it's possible to have, when you make us in rooms, have somebody more experienced or somebody that has been here for a long time. I had a good talk, but I don't know if we together we had a good talk, but both of us were kind of new and we didn't really follow the instructions. We just talked about our problems. So
Well, good for you.
it's just,
Yeah. And
so,
we,
but if you could please put somebody more experienced in the rooms with us next time, or
we will
you know what
try.
I mean. So
We will try.
follow instructions.
We do try
thank
to balance the rooms, and but of course sometimes there's just not as many experienced people here as we wish. But we will do our best from now on, Roya. Thank you for the
Yes,
feedback.
Thank you.
Yep. And Rob?
Can you hear me okay?
You betcha.
Yeah, at first I was having the same need in each hand. It was supported in both of them. And then I was thinking, oh, perhaps this exercise is, yeah, you have the need you were trying for. And then when it didn't work out, you know, the regret, or for me, it was in the left hand, kind of the remedy to meet that need was awareness and consideration. And does it sound like I'm on track there?
Sounds like you made it your own, which is really the most important thing. I really love how you took some like template and then you Robified it. You turned it into Rob's experience, which is really what I love. I love when people make it their own. Yeah.
Okay. But so what was what one was the needs met and one was the other needs not met?
Yeah, the way that I set it up usually is in the right hand is the positive intention, which is the need.
The intention, got you. Okay.
When I behaved in a certain way. So I call that the positive intention or the life-serving intention. And on the other hand, it's the need that's causing my feeling of regret. The need that's unmet.
Oh, okay.
And so
Thank you.
Yep. And so in the reason that I behaved in the way that I behaved was in that moment, I couldn't figure out how to get both needs met. I just had a creativity crisis, a temporary creativity crisis. And by going back and then reviewing the moment and then being with those needs, then in this way, we were just doing it metaphorically and with an image. But you can do it with the journaling, or you can just do it by thinking about it, or just being present with these needs, or through self-empathy or empathy. But we get to this place where we understand that needs are never in conflict, that the result of our pain is that we just couldn't figure out a way in that moment to get both needs met. And so this process seems to unlock the creativity crisis. And we discover, one of the things that I often discover is that I can let go of the addiction to meeting both needs right now. That I can actually meet one need now and one need in 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 5 days or whatever, that it doesn't have to, I don't have to be so caught up in kind of being graspy about getting my needs.
Sure.
Okay. Anything come out
Because
for
your
you?
need of regret might be, your need of regret might be a need for a morning, and
Yes,
that takes some time to percolate through that. So
absolutely. That's a great point. Mourning is a really important part of this process. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, Tanya.
I wasn't going to speak, but I think maybe this may be a leading question too. But sometimes when we have needs, the environment is not cooperating with us to meet those needs, and I'm not speaking specifically adult to adult kind of thing, but there is a special urgency with children and elderly people who need care. There seems to be a special urgency there that we could be resource depleted, and we've, all you parents out there, this is probably going to remind you of this. If we may be depleted resourcefully, but the other person really needs our attention. And I'm wondering, do you have any first aid?
Well, yeah.
5 minute, 30-second first aids for that.
Well, what you just did is the first aid, is naming it. Just naming it. I see that you're really struggling right now. Give a little empathic connection to the other person. I see that you're really freaking out. You really need some support. And me too. I'm a little bit stuck myself. How about we take 1 minute of a break from each other, or just breathe together, or sing a song, or depending on how old the kid is or what the other circumstance is. Maybe that just might create enough space for our nervous system to come back into more balance. So, and then when we get more balance, then we have more creativity. But you also point out another really important point, I think, Tanya, and that is systemic influences can sometimes get in the way of us creatively addressing our needs. When we come from, I come from a really privileged background, and so I forget how difficult it might be for someone who doesn't have the access to resources that I have. And so I might have less patience because, all you got to do is, and I already have 10 strategies in mind, but for someone who doesn't necessarily have access to the same kind of resources, they might need 10 times more empathy and more space and more presence and creativity and support. And not that I have to give it to them, but I really want to be available to give what I can give. Does that make sense to you, Tanya? Yeah. Okay. So it looks like that cleared the board of, I really appreciate the connection about my exercise. And it sounds like on the one hand, it met some needs, on the other hand, it didn't.
Yeah.
And so now we'll move from this place forward and keep practicing together and learn how to express our regret when we do make a mistake. Anything you want to say before we launch into
No,
that?
go for it. I'm
Okay.
busy making sure there's experienced people.
Okay, good. Jory's adjusting groups. So the class today is on expressing regret. How to make life more wonderful even when you make a mistake. And we're gonna mix in some nonviolent communication with some Hawaiian culture. And some of you may have heard of Ho'oponopono because it's become part of the culture in many places. It has managed to spread from Hawaii, where it has about 1,000 years of germination. And ho'oponopono is the Hawaiian word, which means to bring back into balance, or to bring back in, to, the literal definition would be something like to make things right again, or something like that. But it implies the rightness and wrongness. So I kind of like to modify the definition just a little bit, say to bring things back into balance, or bring things back into pono. Pono is this Hawaiian word that refers to the idea that all needs matter, all needs can be satisfied, and it's that all human beings, sometimes we make mistakes. In fact, I need to pause for just a second to cough. Sometimes I get excited and I need to cough. Yeah. Then I'm thinking of something that I learned from Marshall once at a training, Marshall Rosenberg, the founder, and he said something like, some of you might think that it's really important to do NVC the right way, or to do it perfectly. And he says, please let go of that idea. The idea of nonviolent communication is not to do it perfectly, but that we all become progressively less stupid. And so Marshall always had a way of saying things in a kind of street giraffe way. And so that's what this is all about today, is how can we guide ourselves to become progressively less stupid? And we're going to use a combination of NVC and ho'oponopono today.
Yeah, I want to say something about the expression. Marshall is very clear that he did not see the work that he was offering as 4 steps. He just saw them as 4 elements that we could integrate into our communication, not necessarily using them all at the same time or in any particular order, but just a different way, different parts of the way that we can express
or listen. Yeah, thanks, Jory. I always appreciate the kind of the way that you kind of bring in another way of saying the same thing, because that's the joy of having a co-facilitator or a partner, is I'll say it one way, Jory will say it another way, and I might reach some of you, Jory might reach others of you, and by putting both of us in each of your hands, you might swirl around and get something else out of the combination of us. So I love it when you share what goes on for you. I like the partnership.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I like that you do most of the talking too. I'm a lazy giraffe now.
So let's go back to the slides and talk just to give some acknowledgement to Morna Simeona. Morna died several years ago, maybe back in the 90s. I'm not exactly sure when she died, but Morna was the one who popularized Ho'oponopono, and she was acknowledged by the state of Hawaii for her dedication to the Hawaiian language and culture, and was given the acknowledgement as a living treasure of Hawaii. So Morna, this is for you. Never got a chance to meet you in the body, but you live in my heart. And so Morna came up with a way to encapsulate the essence of Ho'opono in 4 sentences. And when we have, once we learn a little bit of NVC, we might think that some of these sentences sound a little bit like what we nicknamed jackal. And like the first one she came up with is, I'm sorry. And so when we say I'm sorry, it sounds like somebody did something wrong, and that we're actually judging ourselves for our behavior, and maybe even judging ourselves for our identity. And when I see that phrase, I am sorry, it sounds like I'm really kind of owning this experience of wrongness. I don't think that's what Morna was pointing to. But I want to give you guys a chance to figure out, how could you say this very simple phrase, I'm sorry, in your own language, which might be, I'm talking not only about just your own native language, but if you speak English and you live in, New York, as opposed to Hawaii, you might find a way to say, I'm sorry, in alignment with your understanding of nonviolent communication that would match how other people could hear, I'm sorry. So
Yeah, it's actually finding a way to be able to say it without the guilt and shame in there. So to look at how you can express that.
So we're going to put you back into small groups and just talk about how you might translate I'm sorry into more of what Marshall would call giraffe language. So again, it'll be about 10 minutes long. I'm going to make it actually 8 to save a little bit of time so we have time to do the whole exercise here.
And it's not just giraffe language as such, it's not a jargon. It's to express your heart
in a way that's congruent with your values and needs. So here's a chance just to connect with each other and share how you might say, I'm sorry, in a way that's congruent with your values and your needs. And we'll be back here in 8 minutes.
Deal with the people.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Welcome back.
So let's see here. Let me just share my screen with you again and give you some tips about that I'm sorry piece. So remember when we did that first exercise, this is the need that was not met for us that is leading to our own feeling of regret. So when we're saying I'm sorry, and we're doing our best to live in NVC consciousness or giraffe consciousness, then what we're doing is we're expressing our empathy and regret without any sense that we've done anything wrong. But we do acknowledge that there was an effect that our actions might have had on the other person. And we're acknowledging the missed opportunity to meet needs. And so, for example, I had a meeting yesterday scheduled with some candidates. I sent out a reminder of the meeting and didn't include the Zoom link. And some people managed to find their way to the meeting anyway, and they let me know about this. But when I heard about it, of course, first I expressed some empathy for what it might be like to be digging through your old emails looking for this. And then I expressed my regret. But I didn't make myself wrong or bad for doing it. I just said, I feel regret because I really value clarity and ease. And I could see that by my missing my own typo, I missed this opportunity to contribute to you. How do you guys feel when you hear me say that? So that's the request that I ended with. And some people let me know how they felt about my mistake. And it ended up, rather than being disconnecting, it ended up being connecting. And it also gave me quick and immediate feedback of steps that I could take to make life more wonderful from now on, because when I put them into small groups to talk about something or at the end of the class or whatever, I was able to go back and adjust the mailing so that when it goes out later this week, it'll be corrected. And so I will make a new mistake rather than the same mistake that I made last time. So let's go on to the second question, or the second piece, which is please forgive me. Now again, I don't think Morna was pointing out to that we should be ashamed of our actions, which is often in the culture that I was grown up with, that I grew up with in the southern part of the United States. This phrase was associated with shame and guilt, and it implied that there was someone who was a judge that had the power to either sentence me or punish me or to forgive me. And this is my plea, please forgive me. I don't think this is what we're really pointing to with nonviolent communication. Instead, we're pointing somewhere else. We're pointing to the need that was in the other hand. So this is, on the other hand, this is the need I was hoping to meet. So in my example with my little pods, the group, I was probably trying to meet a need for efficiency. or maybe I was trying to address other needs that were emerging, and I just simply missed the typo. But I'm sure that my actions were in the service of some need. My positive intention was to send this email out in a timely way so that people would know about it. And so the please forgive me part is, now how can I express my own pain about my positive intention in a way that expresses what I wish would have happened instead? So that's your second assignment, is how could you talk about your positive intention with the other person, the need that you were hoping to meet when you did what you did. And so let's go back for 8 more minutes again. And
I didn't get everybody moved.
Oh, come.
Because I was busy moving things around while you were talking.
Okay.
And I'm trying to read what this is. I don't know what that means. So I just explain a little bit more, or either that or fix it.
Let me just get this going here. So let's see what we got to do here. I think it's...
You've got one person by themselves right there.
Okay, so let's put you here. All right. Okay, so we're ready to go now, I think. So we'll see you back here again. The idea here is, again, is how would you, in your own language, how would you express your honesty and your vulnerability about the needs you were hoping to contribute to when you made the mistake, a mistake that you made? So we'll see you back here in about 8 minutes.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. All right, so we've done the first 2 pieces now, the I'm sorry and the please forgive me. This is the hard part. This is the hard part of translation. And so now I just want to get some feedback. What have you learned so far? In terms of how would you express these two ways in your own language? What would it sound like if you're going to express it in a way that you think would support connection? What would it
Don't all shout at once. There you go.
Thanks, Tanya.
Tanya, ever ready to tread where angels fear to go?
Yes, that's on your business card, I think.
I think so. Okay, so the I'm sorry to me translates into expressing that I see harm. I see the harm you experience. I see what you're going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I am real negatory on any kind of please forgive me, because I feel if someone is harmed, I'm asking, and they see me as the agent, I'm asking them to do one more thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I translate please forgive me into how can I support this person to give up the anger and hate in their hearts so they are relieved of that. Because to me, forgiveness is nothing more than giving up being angry with someone else.
Sure, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Thanks, Tanya. I like that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate your perspective.
Jeff?
Yeah, thank you. In our group, we talked about the I'm sorry in terms with 2 words that were helpful: curious and repair or restore. And I'm curious, and then I kind of added in from my perspective, like the feeling. So I'm having some sadness because I think that I may have done something that's hurt you, and I'm curious about your experience with it, and I wonder if you're willing to let us try to repair the situation.
Nice.
That was all helpful.
Yeah, good. I really like that. You have a expression of your own vulnerability, and you're ending on a clear and present request. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And Rob?
Yeah, I've had this situation with my brother-in-law. You know, I've got a lot of big emotional things going on, and it's overwhelming for him. And so I got to please forgive me. I actually I couldn't get him to respond, so I finally on Amazon sent him some nuts and fruits, and then he did respond. Said thank you. We had a short little conversation. So that was yeah. So some contact at least.
Yeah, you found a way to reach out and offer a gift that supported connection.
And supported repair.
Yeah. And included a few calories besides, delicious calories. Something that all human beings.
I made the mistake of sending him a similar gift again, and he said, "I already got that." I'm sorry.
Oh, then you had a whole nother regret to get to express. All right.
A whole other regret. That's right.
All right.
He wants something unhealthy. I'm going to send that to him next.
Okay, sounds good. Monica?
Okay, so I'm wondering what you think about this one. I noticed that what I did may have caused you sadness, unhappiness, or pain. I really regret what I did because of this. I will do my best to choose another action next time. Would you be willing to give me another chance?
Nice.
Yeah, I would change one word.
Okay.
From cause to stimulated.
Okay.
That's what I would
did.
do. I just
instead of I really regret what I did. Where does it go? Where would that go? Because of this, instead of that.
That stimulated you to feel pain rather than caused. Yeah, that's what came up.
Because I put, I really regret what I did because of this.
Yeah. So the because, generally speaking,
take out because.
Yeah,
okay, that's
speaking,
it. Gotcha.
The general idea in NVC is
that stimulated this.
Yeah, the general idea in NVC is that the because is always the need.
Okay, I just was curious what word to take out. Thank you. Got clarity now. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
and sometimes you can say because I value something.
Yeah.
That's another way to say it.
Yeah.
I really regret what I did that may have stimulated this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again,
thank you.
It's not so much what we say, it's the energy that we say it with.
That's true.
Is really what comes alive in me. I really want to, I could say I'm sorry and be doing pure giraffe. I could be doing pure NVC. And because if I'm not making me or the other person wrong when I say it, sometimes just those two words are the most connecting thing that's possible to say. And so I really want all of us to trust our intuition about the language that connects in your specific situation.
Yeah, it's more important where you're coming from. And it also is important to how they might receive certain words and how we express it.
And then the other piece, I see your hand there, Beth or Don. I have to be right there. That whenever I say my vulnerability, so whether I'm expressing my vulnerability about the I'm sorry part, or the asking for some understanding about the need that I was hoping to meet when I did it. Whenever I express my vulnerability, I want to end on a clear and present request, probably a connection request. Something like, how do you feel when you hear me say that? Or what comes up for you when you hear that? Or, that curiosity that Jeff was talking about, that's what really keeps the connection going, is when I keep my curiosity alive and I want to know how this lands in you. Yeah. Beth or Don?
Yeah, I don't want to open up the whole kettle of worms here, but it seems like I remember some months ago we had this lesson where we were talking about the ineffectiveness of saying I'm sorry. And it seems like I tend to say I'm sorry when somebody, even if it's not my fault, somebody tells me they're not feeling well or they had an accident, it's like an expression of sympathy to say I'm sorry.
Yes.
Right.
I'm not admitting something I did wrong. But the other I'm sorry comes from a relationship problem. It seems like if you still have a good relationship with somebody, I'm sorry is an okay thing to say
Yeah.
quite often, because the person is understanding and is willing to forgive. But if you have a relationship that's on the rocks, saying I'm sorry, or if this person has had too many people say I'm sorry or please forgive me, it doesn't come across sincere. Even if you feel like it is sincere, it's not coming across.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think I know what you
I
mean.
guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Go
You
ahead.
you want to say the thing you wanted to say about sorrow that
Yeah.
we talked about during the break?
Yeah, there's a difference between I'm sorry when it's not from guilt, and then when it is from guilt, and I don't remember the other part you
Yeah,
wanted.
that I'm sorry is I feel sorrow.
I feel sorrow. Okay.
Yeah, that sometimes when I say I'm sorry, like let's say somebody had a loss in their family, and in our culture, in at least in American English culture, when someone suffers a big loss, the common thing to say is I'm sorry about your loss.
Mm-hmm.
And if I think about what the deep structure of that sentence is I'm resonating with the sorrow that you feel. My heartstrings are resonating with sorrow too, because I've suffered loss. I think I know empathically what it's like to be you. So in a way, it sounds like sympathy, but it's actually the words are representing resonance or empathy. Especially if it's really relational, like Beth was just talking about.
Yeah, the tricky part is to be aware whether it's coming from guilt and shame when you say I'm sorry, and to have that level of connection with the other person that it's communicating what you intended to communicate. And I see Richard has his hand up.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, thanks for that guilty thing, because I always, the times that someone said to me that they were sorry, it equaled, oh, I got caught. It's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if you guys know, there's something called the sorry syndrome, that people they're sorry for everything. Like, that's just some habit that
I
they
noticed that. I have a relative that often, no matter what happens, the first thing out of their mouth is "I'm sorry," and as I empathize with it, I sense that it's their expression of empathy, and their expression of a wish for well-being. And so I think I get it, but of course I'd have to talk to them about what's really going on for them. And so I am very curious about that.
Yeah, and I want to reaffirm that it's where we're coming from, not necessarily the words we use. And at the same time, we're talking to people who hear our words, and they're likely to have their own interpretation of it, and to be conscious of that too.
Again, which is why we always end on a clear and present request to find out how our expression landed in them. Did we actually did we meet the need that we were hoping to meet when we said what we said, or now do we have another repair that we might get to make, because we're getting progressively less stupid. We're not expecting any of us to do this perfectly.
And the main intention is connection. So as long as we keep that in mind, that the intention here is to be connected, not to even solve the problem necessarily, just to walk together in collaboration.
Right. Yeah, I did try to continue a connection with someone after the accusation was made about what I did. I told them that's the last thing in the world I would want to have happen. And they weren't buying what I was selling. And, that was heartbreaking. And I didn't know about making a request then. So I didn't, because I didn't know about that part at this time. Yeah, went the way it went.
Thank you. I get it. Yeah, Roya, and then Eleanor, and then Jeanette. Then we'll go back to finish the lesson. Roya.
Yes, hi. Thanks again. To me, I have this problem about my tone of voice, and I think you said something really clever. It's just how you say it. To me, how you say it is more important than what you're saying, because even this word "I'm sorry" could be said like "sorry," like you're wrong, and or "I'm sorry," or "Oh, I'm sorry."
No, I'm
So
sorry.
it's
Yes.
how you say, yeah, So I really I have to work on my tone of voice, and thank you for bringing that into the attention.
You're welcome. I know what you're talking about. And I think the thing that has helped me the most, Roya, with tone is to think about warmth.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about, I want, like sometimes Jory might get upset with me. And what I want to I want to show up with warmth for her,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's I'm kind of a cool, calm, and collected guy, and so my tone often will come across, I think, as cool or detached. And so as I decided to have a goal to develop more warmth, and so I imagined delivering my message to Jory as if it was a nice warm cup of tea or some other kind of a metaphor. And that seems to have helped me. I don't know if it's helped her or not, but I actually lay in bed in the morning sometimes before I get up. I think, how can I be warmer today? Because I do see that I get the feedback sometimes that I'm a little bit cool, on the cool side. And so that might be, and sometimes even the cold side. And so I want to warm up the relationship.
Oh, you're a cool guy.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, Eleanor.
Well, I feel unsure and unclear about requests. What are the various requests that we might want to make toward this connection, and what are some words to use?
Yeah. The two simplest ways of thinking about connection requests are: what need am I hoping to meet when I make the request? Do I want to make sure that I'm understood? If that's my need, then I want to end on what we call a confirmation or a reflection request. Something like, what did you hear was important to me? But find your own language. Don't do it Jim's way or Marshall's way. But what did you hear was important to me? Or what did you hear as my needs? Or what do you sense that I'm valuing? So those would all be how I might say after I shared my need with somebody. That would be a confirmation request. If my need was for clarity about or some understanding about the other person's experience, then my request might be, how is that for you to hear? Or what comes up when you hear me say that?
Yeah, how is that?
Yeah, those are the easiest ways that I can think of to express. But again, find your own language. And so basically you're inviting the other person's honesty in the second request. In the first request, the confirmation request, you're inviting the other person's empathy with your request. Does that help, Eleanor?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your comment.
And you can go to our YouTube channel, and you can. There's a couple of. There's one about requests called "The Glue of Connection." And
wait, Jim, can you please repeat that? In the second request, how is that to hear? Inviting the other person's what did you say?
Honesty. If I ask, if I say, "How is that for you to hear?" then that's me inviting the other person to share their vulnerability or their honesty.
Yeah. You only say it when you're ready to hear that. That's a really important piece.
Okay. And Jeanette, then we'll get back to the lesson.
In my world, men that I know, especially in my family, are way more cool, intellectual, or I'd say like they don't get emotional. Whereas women that I know and in my family, they hold a lot of things and then they erupt. And it's a pattern. And I'm wondering about the word, I apologize for being disrespectful when I blah, blah, blah. If I see someone having like a little meltdown, then I love what you said about tone of voice, because I'm more like want to know, I want to be direct, but some females, and I hate to be the gender thing, if they don't like what I'm saying, in my family, they'll erupt. And so I have to be very careful of that, whereas the male does not. And I have to learn not to set that volleyball net up in the way I ask a question.
Yeah.
Anyway, just I apologize for being whatever. I don't know how that sounds to you, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, when you say I'm disrespectful, how does that land for you? Is that a judgment you have of yourself? And now if that, whether you are or you aren't, you're labeling yourself and supporting them in having a judgment of you. So that's what comes up for me when I hear, I'm
to be honest,
disrespectful. Instead of labeling it disrespectful, you might say something like, I said something that I regret. Yeah, something along those lines.
And then you could add the need.
Thank you.
You could say, I realize that when I said it in that tone of voice, I see the impact that it had on you. I feel some regret because I really value, then fill in the blank for whatever your need is.
Yeah, and it's very different to say I feel regret than I am, and label it that way.
Yeah. Does that help, Jeanette?
Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, the proof is always in the pudding, as they say, especially this time of the year with Christmas pudding. If it's leading to connection, then yay. That's the goal of whatever the words are, or however we're saying it. And if it's not, if they do erupt, if we've got our giraffe ears on, we discover that can be delicious. Eruptions can be delicious because then we're finally getting to the heart of the thing. And so it's just a matter of increasing our own capacity to be with another person's strong emotion. And that just takes practice. It just takes practice. So let me share this.
So I just want to acknowledge what Sarah Joy wrote into the chat. What if you're in a relationship where someone is demanding you to apologize? And in a situation like that, it's whatever gets you to the next step. I would just acknowledge, I really regret I did what I did, which is very different than, oh, I'm so sorry, I was so bad, I was wrong.
Yeah, again, whatever leads to the most connection. And so that's probably enough about that. We could probably talk, that could probably be a whole lesson, Sarah Joy. We could probably do a whole hour and a half about that. So that's a very deep question. So let me share the screen again. The last two are easier to translate into nonviolent communication. So once we get this quality of connection with the other person, isn't it natural to just say thank you? And thank you in NVC is always again related to the needs that have been satisfied. We feel gratitude because needs have been satisfied. And so
it's often the thank you just even for listening, for the willingness to support communication here. So
this is a chance to express the vulnerability that you have when you notice. I mean, it's really tender to have to acknowledge that the other person has satisfied your needs, have somehow fed your needs. So let's just say that the other person, you share your regret, and the other person says something like, well, gosh, it's really meaningful for me that you say that. Then you say, thank you. It's just so touching for me to see that my efforts to rebuild connection between us have mattered to you. How do you feel when you hear me say that? And so you can create this very virtuous kind of cycle of gratitude and then they get and then a request, and then they get to express, and then you get to empathize, then you get to express gratitude, and it just creates this wonderful flow. Jory and I call it a gratitude binge, where one thank you begets another one. I need to work.
She's asking a question.
Okay. So then the last screen is next to last screen is I love you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this probably doesn't need a whole lot of translation, although in NVC we often talk about connecting to the action quality of love rather than the feeling quality of love. And so when we're expressing, this is about not just saying I care for you, but actually expressing care for you in some meaningful, tangible way. And all these first four pieces then set a foundation for now. What are we going to do? What are we going to do from now on? And from now on, we want to build a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving, or collaboration, or whatever word you like to use about that. So now we've navigated this little hiccup in our relationship that might have been stimulated by a choice that I made that didn't work for you, but now we've navigated it. What can we do from now on in order to prevent this particular mistake from happening again, or at least minimize the chances of it happening again, so that we can make a new mistake next time? And so this would be a request for this would be an action request. What can we do from now on? Would you like to do some thinking about this for a day or so, and then come back and have a meeting about how we behave from now on, and so forth? So I think I'm tempted just to to invite you to go back to the same groups again for about 7 minutes again, to talk about these last pieces, the thank you, the I love you, and the from now on, just to see what comes up for you. You know, it's not enough time, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to say goodbye to your friends, and also just to express whatever your takeaway is from our practice today. So we'll be back here again in about 8 minutes. Okay, I got a request here to do too.
Meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so welcome back. We got about 15 minutes left. I would like to kind of summarize. I'd like to summarize what we did today for you, and kind of tie it up into a package. So the four sentences again in the Ho'oponopono way are and the order is not important, but I think the order that we did it today is I'm sorry, please forgive me, trust email for connection, unless you're doing Ho'oponopono, and then maybe it might work. But several years ago, when my dad was still alive, we had a little break in our relationship where I was the one who exploded Jeanette. I was the one that I became Mauna Loa and blew my top a little bit and leaked out some of my jackal to my dad. And my dad was about 85 years old at the time, and he hung up on me. He hung up the phone on me during conversation. And so that was really good feedback for me, that I was not really getting the quality connection that I wanted. And so I wrote this to him. Dear Dad, and see if you guys can pick out these four sentences.
These four elements.
These four elements. Dear Dad, I care deeply about your well-being. I want you to be happy, healthy, and as whole as possible. I can only remember losing my cool with you twice in my adult life. Once when you refused to eat after your heart operation, the other one yesterday. I regret losing my cool with you because I do not think it supported love or connection. Please forgive me. My anger is mine, and I wish you could understand the root. I care so deeply for your safety and the safety of others. I also care about keeping agreements and trust. Thank you for reading this and considering my words. I will call again as usual around 8. I hope you choose to speak with me.
Love, Jim.
Love, Jim. And he did. I called back at 8 and we did connect, and it was water under the bridge because that was just his way of dealing with things
Yeah.
in general.
And what he means by that, for those who may not be English speakers as your primary language, it means that it passed by, it was complete.
Yeah. And somebody wanted me to put a slide number 4 again. I think I'll just go through.
Just one just above that, that's 5. And
maybe this
there,
one here.
No, yeah, there you go.
This one here. So let me share this one with you. You'll all get access to all these slides. They'll be on the website and on the YouTube channel. Excuse me. So we have time to hear feedback from maybe one or two people about the class. So if you want to raise your hand and say anything.
Especially if you haven't spoken up yet, that would be great.
Anybody?
Don't all shout at once.
Go ahead, Zohar. Nice to hear your voice.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yes, hi. What opened up to me today with this practice, and I already practiced this with you a little while ago, was completely different. And when I was connecting with the first sentence, first maybe I want to say thank you to all the wonderful women that were with me in the breakout room for holding the space and putting so much love and empathy and listening. And yes, dearly. And when I was connecting with this first phrase, I'm sorry, I was connecting to it without words, just in my presence. And I could feel the other person's pain and my pain also, and my historical pain for my needs not being met either by me or by other people that I really wanted them to meet my needs. And the pain was just overwhelming. I couldn't move on to the next steps in the exercise today. I just needed to let all this pain out and mourn. And I, besides of feeling ready to share it, I also wanted to hear something about it from you, about how sometimes we can't do this repair work because we need to mourn.
Yes.
It won't be real. We can say these phrases.
That's right.
And they can sound really good, but deep inside, in that very, very deep level, it won't work.
That I totally resonate with what you're saying. That unless it's authentic, unless we have sufficiently mourned, we're not ready to share our vulnerability or do the repair work. And we might need to do what you did today, or to get empathy from another friend, or do journaling, or take a walk in nature, or take a hot shower, or sleep for a week, or whatever it is, in order to recharge our batteries, right. in order to mourn. And when we mourn sufficiently, the way you know you mourn sufficiently is because you have shifted to gratitude. You're actually grateful for the awareness of the unsatisfied need. And then there's a natural motivation to do the repair work. But I'm totally in harmony. If we push it, it often will not lead to connection. Sometimes it will, but sometimes it won't. So I really appreciate slowing things down, taking your time. How do you feel hearing that, Zohar?
Yeah, it's good to be acknowledged. I feel like life doesn't allow, at least to me, the time I need to mourn
Yeah.
all that. It's things are moving fast, and I make a lot of mistakes, which I want to repair and to stay connected with the people I care, and I don't have enough time to mourn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the moment when you're not ready to really respond and you need that kind of mourning, and yet the person's in front of you, I mean, just finding a way to take some space. You know, I've got to go to the bathroom right now. I'll be right back, or whatever. To find that way to put that oxygen mask on yourself,
Yeah.
restore yourself.
Yeah, our culture's not so great at mourning, huh, Zohar? We really need to
Yeah.
build more capacity to be with our own sadness, the natural consequence of unsatisfied needs, and also to be with the sadness of other people. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does that feel
Thank
complete
you.
for now?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
and I was going to respond to something and you don't have time.
yeah. So Ramanusha has arrived from Sri Lanka. I invited her to come today. Ramanusha is a certified trainer in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has a special place in my heart because I got to meet Ramanusha in person when we did an IIT there about, I don't know, 5 years ago, I guess, 5.5 years now. And if you follow the news, you know that Sri Lanka's been having a rough time. And so I invited Ramanusha here to connect with you all today and to invite you into a little bit of connection with her. So we might go a little bit over here by time-wise. So we respect your time if you need to go early, but if you need to go at the bottom of the hour. But if you're willing to stay and listen to Ramanusha, I turn it over to you for a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, thank you for the giving this space, Jim and Jory. Actually, I'm a little nervous because this is the first time I'm making a connection and a request here, something like this. So as you have followed news, you would have heard that, you know, economic crisis hit in Sri Lanka. It is how to say, a very shocking year for me. And I was, even few months, I was also depressed and was like finding ways to, you know, support to, you know, less this situation. So I was spending a lot of my energy in a nonviolent protests. So I was taking part in that. So that took a lot of energy. And then I received a news like a few months ago that Sri Lanka is a 7th rank in malnutrition. So when I heard that news, my heart was really broken. I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't take action rather than, you know, participating in the nonviolent action, some protest. So then, anyway, it is in my mind. I want to do something for children, or to, you know, give food for school children. So then I shared this idea with Jim. So he said, I can share this idea here. So Jim, I have a presentation. So is it possible to share?
Yes, let me make you a co-host really quick here.
Okay. Yeah. So so this, I just give a very quick background of Sri Lanka, because why this started, not necessarily because of COVID itself. Also, there was an issue with the tourists. Because of the COVID, we didn't have the tourists. That is one of the reasons. But more than anything, a mismanagement of the the current government. Still, it is not changed, because they came to power purely by the racist votes, and they promised, you know, they really came to a power based on the racism, not much in the economy or in anything. So they did a lot of corruptions and mismanagement, and, you know, and also the ex-president banned the fertilizers. So that was the reason for the food crisis, and everything came like everything was a shock after that. So the food prices are like almost like 100%, 200% inflation is here. So even for the average person, even people like me, like get average income, also even, tend to skip meals because the food prices are so expensive here. So the current situation, something like an acute food crisis or economic crisis. So like, it's in Sri Lanka, is in the 7th rank in the malnutrition. So for this, I and one of my ex-colleagues, we selected a place in Sri Lanka, which is a central province. It's a plantation community. So the plantation community is one of the, marginalized community in Sri Lanka, where these the plantation workers were brought to Sri Lanka in 1820, and still they are living by British colonization, and still they are living in a very bad condition in Sri Lanka in terms of health, hygiene, and basic living conditions. So I worked in the central province for many years. So I'm thinking of selecting a school there, a grade 5 school, and to provide meals, like 3 meals a week or something like that for 6 months. So for me, let me share the screen. So this is the picture of that school. This is called Norwood Primary School in Central Province. So this is the brief background of the plantation community. So this is my plan and the request. So for me, rather than a donation or a charity, I would like to make it as a solidarity, or something like a compassionate classroom kitchen. So where I would like to, I selected a 1 classroom where age of 9 to 10, and also like where there are 75 students, like most of the students are children of estate workers who are, under the poverty, but still few children are capable to, get food also. So what I am planning is not only providing like food for 75 students, where we encourage some of the students to bring their extra food also, even the people from a poverty condition also, so they can bring even a 1 fist of rice or a dal or whatever, so they can contribute and all. So where this here also the parents and the teachers also will get together and cook together and support each other. So this is my plan. So I have mentioned the cost also. So cost of the 1 meal, I plan like 200 rupees. Is like, this amount is very less, but thinking that others also will bring their food or rice and all, so that's what I limited to 200 rupees, but it's more than that actually for a meal. So it's like $0.5 1 meal, and then 75 students into 12 times a month. It means only 3 times I'm planning for a week, and that is $294. And if I'm planning for 6 months, it's $2,934. So it's in terms of financial request from my side. So if you want further details, I don't know, Jim, how I can share the details. So maybe in the chat box or in email, my
Sure.
email address and my
Yes.
WhatsApp number. And so for me, I'm very conscious about not to create a dependent community where, we always give charity or anything, but I want to empower them. So I live 5 hours away from this place, but I will also visit with my friend who is there to support me from that place. It's from the district itself, but I have shared NVC also in the school, but like 7-8 years ago. So I'm also planning to share NVC or even having dialogue to really empower them, rather than really creating a dependable community. So I'm very concerned about that, because I don't want Sri Lanka to be a dependent country forever. I want to create a culture where we can be interdependent and really support each other. So this is my plan and the request, and this is the first time I'm sharing in a large group like this. I'm also nervous about sharing, and nervous about how I'm going to lead this, but I really, because it created a lot of pain in me, so that is the main reason I really wanted to do something.
Thank
from
you,
my side.
Ramanuja.
Yeah, can I say that?
I'm so grateful that you came.
And we will match every donation. So whatever you give, we will match it.
And if you want to just, we'll put our, if you'll stop sharing the screen, Ramanusha, I'll put the stuff in the chat for how you can donate money to us. Everything that we receive over the next.
They donate it directly to her? Because we'll have to have it as income. Okay.
So probably the easiest way
Yeah.
is just to give it to us, and then we can pass it on to Ramanusha.
And we'll match it.
Yeah, and so where is that link here? It's our PayPal account. Let's see here.
PayPal, huh? I don't see
Okay,
it.
I will find the pay. I'll
Here, request and donation. No.
Yeah, that's a different one.
No.
So I will. What I'll do is I'll when I send out the next mailing, I will include the PayPal. I don't know why it's missing from my list here. I feel unprepared suddenly. But anyway, I'll get it for you in just a second. And so anything that we receive over the next week, we will match, as Jory said, and we will send it on to Ramanusha. This for me is social change, social action to meet basic needs. And I feel very, very touched by your willingness to come here today, Ramanusha. It's very vulnerable to ask for money, and I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, but let's put the contact information to our group right after this. Otherwise, it gets lost in the shuffle.
I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna get the PayPal.
All right, hold on. He's gonna give it to you.
It's such a simple thing. You'd think I would remember it, but I can't quite. I want to make sure that it's right. Got to go through this rigmarole for PayPal here.
Yeah, I'm protecting
Oops.
our.
Okay.
PayPal. Bear with us. We'll have it here in a moment.
Let's see here. Here it is. PayPal me. Okay, here it is. I'm going to put this link into the chat, and Ramanusha, if you would put your contact information into the chat as well. So this is how you can PayPal Jim and Jory.
You PayPal us, we will match it and send it to Ramanusha, and she's going to give us her.
And then next week we'll give you a report about how much we were able to, how many meals we were able. I was really struck by one particular note in your presentation, Ramanusha, that you're talking about 50 cents per meal for a child. And so many of us in America would spend, not me because I don't drink coffee, but some of us would spend 10 times that amount on a cup of coffee. And so for the cost of 1 cup of coffee a week, you could feed 10 children for 10 days. So really appreciate your generosity as you consider Ramanusha's request, and thank you for the vulnerability for asking Ramanusha. How is it for you to hear all this?
Thank you.
Yeah. And I saw hearts go up and different signs of affirmation from some of the people too.
And it's actually a perfect lead in to the final thing we'll say for today, which is the topic of our class for next week, which is the joy of giving. We'll be talking about the joy of giving, which is actually the underlying purpose of nonviolent communication, is to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. So we'll be exploring that in depth next week. And so we look forward to seeing you then, and feel free to stick around here and enjoy the after party if you want to stay and get some final connection with folks today. And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Aloha, everybody.
Thank you all for being here.